Okay, so today, people, for lecture six, we're going to break into one of our larger models, and we'll use this model a couple of times for a couple of different lessons. And the reason being is because this particular model will help us introduce schedules today, but also a few other of the newer features in Revit that we'll come to down the road. So first things first, let's open the model. The model was created in Revit 2019. So what we're going to do, we'll just do a regular upgrade to 2020. So off the V drive in the normal place where your files are, I just wanted you to hold off on opening it, and I'll show you why. Um, for instance, in lecture six, when you click on it to open it, um, there are some times where when you go to open a model, um, when we talk about work sharing at some point, there'll be this feature that talks about detaching from central. What we may end up trying to do too is use this model as a central model. Now, we're way down the road from work sharing, but work sharing is a means by which all of us can work in a model at the same time and do separate things if we have local copies of it. We'll see if the network allows us to do that. Sometimes it's a little robust for networks, but we'll see how it works. For right now, we'll just hit open, and you can see it's going to upgrade from 19 to 20. Now remember, we can't go backwards, we can always go forward. So at times I will work in 19 and then we just open it in 20, but you never want to try and do your work in 19, save it in 20 and go backwards. You'll be very disappointed. So it's processing right now. Yours will do the same. And I'll use this first video to kind of just spend a minute or two showing you around this model and what we are going to actually do. Uh, the whole purpose of this lesson is to talk about rooms, room separation lines, room tags, and also we're going to start the process of scheduling. And scheduling is something that can be very challenging for students up front. It's not something they understand very well. The interface is still a little, I won't call it frustrating, but it can be confusing at first if you've never used it before. Okay, so just to let you know what's happening in this model, imagine this is an assisted living. It's not a nursing home. Assisted living usually are houses that people will live in, and you'll see them residentially around the community of Alton. This is a little bit more of a fancy one, more or less. And if you just looked at a 3D view of this, you see right now there is no roof because we are also going to use this model to build a more complex roof in certain places as we go forward. So we'll use this model a few different times, as we'll use some of our other ones a few different times. So as you can see, we have a entry right here with a dimension, an equal dimension. I want to talk a little bit more about the equal dimension when we go over dimensioning some more, because that's something that I find a lot of students can be a little bit weak in as well and don't understand the power of dimensions in Revit. So we'll talk about that. As you can see around the outside, you see we have 20 resident rooms. They're not patient rooms, they're not bedrooms, they're resident rooms. And essentially, if you look at one of these residence rooms, all they have in their resident rooms is a bed. There's room where they could bring in their own television or their own chair or something like that, and they have a personal bathroom. The rest of this place is going to consist of spaces that are need to make a facility like this work. For instance, these people have to have their clothes washed for them, right? So there's going to be laundries in here. There's a kitchen where their meals have to be prepared. There's a freezer, a walk-in cooler. There's visiting spaces for them and their relatives. There are actually restrooms for guests. There's restrooms for employees. There's also what we would call in a hospital a nurse's station, because these individuals need some medical care. They need their medication doled out to them. They just aren't allowed to just take whatever medication. They're not trusted to do that on their own, or else they wouldn't need assisted living, right? So that's the kind of facility we're in. We have an entry, we have a lobby area, we have recreational spaces, and we have a vending space. There's a lot of different spaces. We even have two mechanical spaces that are flanking either side of the building on the west and on the east. So that's the basic overalls of this project. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video, and I'll have you open up your models. The last thing I want to make sure I do is first and foremost go here to File, Save As, and I will save the project in this folder. I'm going to save it. Remember, we never work on our initial files because then we have something to go back to. I'm just going to put JDH there, and that will be that. Okay? We'll pick up in the next video.